It started like most hotel disturbances do, a manager's voice on the phone reporting a fight on the second floor. She believed the guests were intoxicated and violating the hotel's policies. For officers, that meant one thing: a trespassing warning might be coming, but the real problem was probably waiting behind the door. When police arrived, they found tension already spilling into the hallway. The guests were frustrated, confused, and defensive. One officer tried to get a sense of the situation. "Did they tell you what happened?" he asked. The woman in the hallway shook her head. According to her, they had just returned to the hotel when another guest came up on some type of time. She claimed they weren't the cause of any disturbance, just in the wrong place at the wrong time. But hotel management saw it differently. They accused the group of violating smoking policies and causing repeated noise complaints. When told that they'd have to check out, one guest pushed back. "That's crazy," she said. "We just walked in before they said anything." Another asked if they would get their money back. The staff explained that only the deposit would be refunded, the rest would be forfeited. At that moment, frustration turned into anger. The guests decided they wanted to leave immediately and demanded an instant refund. But emotions were already high, and the conversation wasn't getting calmer. The officers tried to keep the peace, asking everyone to step outside and gather their belongings. But as the minutes passed, confusion took over. The woman argued that she had nothing to do with any violations, claiming another guest had her own room and that she was being unfairly treated. The officers asked everyone to cooperate, reminding them that the longer they argued, the worse things would get. But emotions don't follow instructions. Inside the room, voices overlapped. One guest insisted she was being targeted for calling corporate about alleged discrimination. Another accused hotel staff of being racist. The officers tried to de-escalate, but their patience was being tested. "Let's keep moving," one officer ordered. "We can talk outside." Still, no one wanted to move. One woman claimed she wasn't leaving until she got her money back. Another said she was just helping her sister pack up. To the officers, it all sounded like excuses. To them, this was a simple trespass situation turning into a standoff. The officers warned the group that refusal to leave could lead to arrest, but the words didn't land. The group continued to talk over one another, emotions boiling just beneath the surface. As frustration hit its peak, one officer stepped closer to urge compliance. But in that instant, things changed. The woman shouted that she just wanted to grab her bag. The officer ordered her to step back. When she refused, the officer moved in to detain her. That's when everything spiraled. Screams filled the hallway as the woman resisted being handcuffed. She shouted that she couldn't breathe, that she had asthma, that she needed to go to the hospital. Other guests pulled out their phones, recording as the scene turned chaotic. "Get this on my vlog," one voice yelled. But the officers were focused on control and on getting everyone out of the room before things got worse. "Stop resisting," one officer commanded. But the woman continued shouting, insisting that she hadn't done anything wrong, that she was just there to help family members gather their belongings. In those few minutes, what started as a trespassing call had turned into a physical arrest. The woman was eventually restrained and brought down to the lobby. She was emotional, still protesting as the officers escorted her outside. She pleaded with them to loosen the cuffs, saying they were too tight, that her hands hurt, that she was only trying to help. But at that point, the officers weren't listening to explanations. The decision had already been made. She was placed in the back of a patrol car, still arguing through tears. "Why are you locking me up?" she asked. "What did I do?" The officer stayed calm, but firm. "You're being charged with battery on a law enforcement officer and resisting with violence." The woman denied ever touching anyone. "You don't have cameras to show that I never did anything," she said. But for now, the argument was over. She was taken into custody. 2 other guests were arrested as well, both charged with trespassing and resisting. Back inside, the hotel manager asked officers to issue permanent trespass warnings for everyone involved. And as the dust settled, the hallway returned to silence. But the echo of what had happened still lingered. Later, as the officers completed paperwork, they discussed how quickly a small disturbance had escalated. They were reminded that calls like these aren't just about enforcing rules, they're about managing emotions. When people feel humiliated or misunderstood, they don't think about policy or procedure. They think about fairness, about being heard. And that's when officers find themselves walking the thinnest of lines between maintaining authority and keeping control of their own patients. In this case, both sides felt wrong. The guests felt targeted and unheard. The officers felt disrespected and resisted. And that's the reality of these situations. 2 truths can exist at once. Hotels are strange places when you think about it. They hold every kind of emotion inside their walls. Love, anger, exhaustion, regret. You can walk past 10 doors in a hallway and have no idea what stories are unfolding behind them. To some, it's a temporary home. To others, it's the stage for a breakdown that no one saw coming. And for officers, it's just another place where human behavior meets authority, where something as simple as a checkout request can ignite deep frustration, resentment, and fear. What many forget is that law enforcement doesn't just deal with crimes. They deal with people at their most unpredictable, emotional, defensive, and sometimes desperate. You can tell someone to calm down, but you can't make them feel calm. You can order them to leave, but you can't make them ready to go. And that gap between command and emotion is where things usually fall apart. In the end, what happened inside that hotel room wasn't just about trespassing. It was about misunderstanding, mistrust, and a moment that spiraled out of control. 3 people were taken into custody that night, charged with resisting and trespassing. 1 faced additional charges for battery on an officer. All of them, however, are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. For the officers, it was another reminder that policing is rarely about paperwork or policy. It's about walking into chaos and trying to bring it back to order without losing yourself in the process. The hallway that once echoed with shouting soon returned to quiet. The guests were gone. The manager finally exhaled, and the officers left behind another story, one that will never make the headlines, but perfectly captures what their job truly is: dealing with humanity in all its unpredictable forms. Because in hotels, you never really know what kind of craziness is waiting just behind the next door. What happened that night wasn't about bad people or good people. It was about emotion meeting authority, and how quickly misunderstanding can turn into resistance. It's a lesson that echoes in hotel hallways across every city. That peace isn't always about quiet. Sometimes it's about knowing when to walk away before the noise begins.